close the hearing now. And also, I would like to call order the regularly scheduled board meeting, Parish Union School District number 95 Board of Education for Monday, October the 2nd. Third. My watch is off, sorry about that. Let the record show that all members are present. The voting sequence is ISAT, Tuttle, Arbuckle, Bailey, Furnish, Hassler, and Davis. Audience to visitors, would anyone like to address the board this evening?
Yes, sir. I just want to bring the board up to date on the side point. I've been studying it for the last 30 days, and it looks like the number of cans that we're going to have, or those type of things coming out, are going to be somewhere in the 2,500 can range by the time the year is done, which we'd be looking at somewhere around $140 or something like that for those cans. So I had talked to Mrs. Sutton today. I've come up with a plan, and I'll be contacting the solid people in town, and it'll be going through there, if that's okay with everybody.
Is that K-12 high school or just
That's K-8 right now, and if you guys want to do something else, we'd be really glad to help. But I'm looking at more than anything, the cans are taking up a lot of cubic yards, and that'll reduce our cubic yards of trash. I'm guessing we're not probably going to see much of a change in our bill. I talked to Scotty last Friday. He thought we could see a little bit of a change, but not much. So I just want to share that with the board tonight.
Yeah, like Sam said, even if it's very limited, it's still be good to recycle.
Oh, I agree.
But we want to open it up, and then we'll ask vendors, and they need to show proof of insurance, and they'll have to be and see if,
Standard procedure.
Correct, yes, sir.
And you've already secured some barrels or something?
Yeah, working on a plan, yes, ma'am, on getting those, yes, ma'am.
And that's something we can have the students be involved with for green purposes.
Exactly, to start, I'm just not sending cans in the landfill, start maybe looking later, like I told Connie, maybe looking at cardboard, some different things like that, just to, keep our trash down. Keep our costs lower. Thank you, sir.
We'll probably have a recommendation later and tell you what we're planning to do to send it out to vendors and the amount of insurance that we would require for them to come on the property and take the can. But it's, like I said, at least it's recycled.
Oh, yes, ma'am, it is.
Anyone else this evening? Yes.
Hi, Mr. Wentz. Today was Blue Shirt Day at Mayo Middle School, and all of the staff members had a blue shirt to wear. It was a national day of bully prevention to help stomp out bullying, and this was brought to our attention by a parent and a student at Mayo School, and they had heard about it and brought it to our attention, so we take a hard stand against bullying already, and so this was just another way for us to let people know that we take it seriously and take steps to try to prevent bullying. We have a bully log system and a progressive discipline system for bullying, and so you can see we have 3 members here, and everyone had this. Today was a national day for bully prevention. We are going to wear these maybe once a month or once a quarter or several times throughout the year to help let our students, to remind them that we take a strong stance against bullying. So just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just wanted to invite the board to attend our Institute Day on this Friday. We have a keynote speaker, Ken Bradbury. He comes highly recommended from the western part of the state. And thank you to Mel for putting his name, giving his name to me so I could get in contact with him. So I think we're very fortunate to have him. Has a good sense of humor, so he should be entertaining. And then also after Ken is Roger Eddy, that's going to be talking on legislative updates, but in particular Senate Bill 7. So if you're interested in any of that, be sure to attend.
Where's it
At Mayo.
At time? What time?
Well, Ken will begin speaking at 8:15, and Roger Eddy, I believe, mine's at, yeah.
It's in
There's an
the
agenda on the very back.
Okay.
cafeteria.
But you can get that in paper. I'll give you one of the agendas.
Anyone else? If not, consent agenda. In your packet, you have the minutes from the September 19th board meeting and a list of the bills. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes or bills this evening? If not, entertain a motion to approve the minutes and the bill.
So moved.
Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler.
Yes.
Davis is yes. And the secretary's report?
Yeah, we got a couple of thank yous for some deaths. Let's see, it says, thank you so much for the lovely plant and for so many of you coming to visitation. That's Kathy Reed, wrong. And then this one is Mary Waiver. Says, thank you for the lovely plant in the memory of my mother. Says, although this has been a difficult time, your gift is a constant reminder that I work for a truly wonderful group of people. Thanks, Sharon Wright.
Superintendent's agenda?
Okay, from 4:30 to 5, we did hold the public hearing on the waiver petition that we will be submitting to the state. This waiver is a 5-year waiver and allows us to use the first 5 days of school as half days for staff development. It also helps us to accommodate for possible heat dismissals that, if they occur, have ordinarily happened since we start early in August now, or mid-August, and not after Labor Day. For that as well. We do not have to use all 5 days, but without the waiver, we are not allowed to. So that will be up to the administration. I've heard some people say, well, some teachers think we don't need that many, or administrators, and we will plan that when we plan our calendar. But it does allow us to, and Crestwood just adopted the same waiver at their meeting. They followed the same kind of pattern as we have for the last 5 years. So at this time, I would ask the board to approve the 5-year waiver request for early dismissal the first 5 days of school for the 2011-12 school year, which would end the 2015-16 school year.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler.
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, next we will be hearing our ISAT presentations this evening and start with the different building. Carol, I think, were you going to start?
Yes.
Okay, so Carol, our curriculum coordinator, will be giving you kind of a district update, and then each of the building administrators will talk about their school scores and their plans for improvement.
If I could have you turn to the AYP report that is for the district, which will say Parish Union and School District 95. I'm going to be referring to that and explaining some of the numbers there and categories, because I learned something new today too, so I'm going to share that with you as well. First of all, you can see that as you work your way across here, that we have participation, and you have to have 95% of your students tested. Well, if you look down there under reading and under math, where it says percent tested on state tests, you can see we easily make that. We have 99.4%, we have to have 95. I think it's a goal in every building to have 100% of your students taking some kind of state test. Occasionally, you have a student move out, so that's why it's not quite 100%, because students can leave during testing time. One thing I do want to point out too, before we get into the reading and math, the high school, our high school students are included in on this district AYP report. So not only does it include, Wentz, Mayo, it's also our high school students that are included on the overall figures here. So as you work your way across to reading, you can see our target was 85% to make AYP this year. We had overall 81.2%, which is close in reading, but just not quite up there. If you look down on the, well, I'll get to the subgroups later, let's just keep working our way across. On math, again, 85%. We had 85% overall that matter exceeded the standards, so that was an excellent score. And you can see, if you work your way across, it does say, yes, met, the 85% criteria. Attendance rate, that's something else that the elementary schools and Mayo are, that's one of our criteria. We have to have 91% overall attendance. We had overall 92.9, so make that. But you can see why, you aggressively try to get children to school, not only, of course, the best thing for them academically, we also are graded on it as well. And the graduation rate, as I said, we have a graduation rate there since we have our high school students included. We need an 82%. Our overall graduation rate was 73%. So I know Dave's going to be addressing that when he meets with his board, right?
Yes, and I will explain just briefly on that. Before, it would show us in the 90% or whatever on graduation. We've all, we've had a fairly high. They changed some of the criteria on how you can count your graduation. So if you have a student that drops out, goes to bridges, goes to pathways, unless they actually are considered graduated or complete the program at the time of this, they count from their freshman year. If they started with us, then that goes against your graduation rate. It didn't count that way before. So Dave will explain that more, but that did make a big difference in our overall graduation rate.
So you may be thinking, okay, if you look up there, is district making AYP? No. Is district making AYP in reading? No. Well, we know why, because we were just off a few percentage points. Is district making AYP in math? And it says no, and you're thinking, hey, wait a minute, 85%, 85%, what's wrong? Well, if you go down to the subgroups, that is why we're not making it in math, was because one of our subgroups did not make it, which is the students with disabilities. If you look down there under the math, we had 71%, which it really is a good score, I think, for that subgroup. Our state Harvard target, 69.8, so you're thinking, and I looked at that and said, hey, wait a minute, we made it, 71% bigger than 69.8. But if you read the fine print down below, even your other indicators have to have made it. We did make it in attendance. If you look there with that subgroup, 93.1, but we did not make it with the graduation rate. And you can see their graduation rate is significantly lower even than the overall Paris High School with a 56.3. So that is why that's a no there, because those other two indicators have to have made it as well. And of course, therefore, no, when you get up here, is the district making AYP in appearance. 85 is a tough score to make, and I think overall the scores were good. And each principal, of course, is going to be reporting on their own particular scores. I just want to say, too, that our subgroups that we do use, besides, you can see there are students with disability and the low income. Of course, we have enough for the white subgroup, also for male and female. So those are the subgroups that the state separates out for District 95. It takes 45 students to make a subgroup. ISAT scores, these will, they do have nice parent reports. Those will be passed out to the parents at parent-teacher conferences, and they'll be explained to the parents then. Both at Wentz and Mayo, the teachers will go over the ISAT scores with the students, so they can see how they did and where they were low and where their strengths were and what they need to improve upon for next year. So that's the overall report. Any questions at this time for me?
I'm sure maybe after all the building reports, maybe.
Okay. And of course, teachers will identify the areas of weakness and be working on those throughout the year as well.
Jerry? Are you going to make some?
You have Memorial's AYP report, and once again, I have to say this, the last 4 years, I believe, since 2008, we do not give any type of state test like ISAT, starts at 3rd grade. So what the state does is it's called back mapping. Whatever 3rd grade does at Wentz, that's our scores. So, and you can see with reading, we're at 96.9. So we made it there, and math, real hard to beat, is 100% met or exceeded. So I was real grateful to the Wentz 3rd graders last year for this. Some of the things that we're doing at Memorial, this is our 7th year with the Harcourt reading series. And we have that same reading series all through the elementary school grades, K through 5, so we have some continuity there. And then also the Saxon math. Obviously, it's doing what it's supposed to be designed for with the scores that we have in math. One minor change that we started this year, since we went from target-based to whole school or school-wide Title I, we've kind of changed that up a little bit with our differentiated instruction and our response to intervention program, in that we can service all the students in the building, not just the ones that are targeted through their Title I eligibility. So that's kind of nice. We can, when somebody gets help and they show that they can master it on their own, we can pull them out of the program and maybe give somebody else a little help. Whereas before, we kind of had to keep that student in the program whether they needed help or not. So that's a plus for the new way that we're doing it. Everything else, if it's not broke, don't fix it. As far as Memorial is concerned, the teachers are given an excellent base, excellent foundation as far as their reading, getting their reading readiness skills mastered so they can move on and do as well as they have in 3rd grade. And then also, obviously, again, with the Saxon math, the scores are pretty good on the ISAT with those students. Any comments or questions for Memorial? Thank you.
I emailed them.
I thought you were just gonna bring them
I can get them in here. It's gonna take a little time on the computer.
Well, can you try to pull them up?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, they'd be on my, you get server space here, right? You drive.
I can get to your e-drive.
Yeah, Nathan can get them for you.
Yeah, I have them there.
He said you can, I can't, that's no problem.
Okay, well, while he does that, we can go over the overall scores for Wentz for reading. The AYP target was 85%, and Wentz's percentage was 92.7 in reading. Math, the percentage overall was 97.7. And attendance, the goal was 91%, and they were at 95.8. With the subgroups, we also met the goals on each one of those. Students with disabilities, reading, 86.2 were at meet or exceeds. Math, 94.8. And for the economically disadvantaged, reading scores were 89.9 and 96.6. So overall, Wentz did a really great job last year. That was quick.
Yeah.
Nathan's good.
Yes.
So as you can see, and you're aware, but the buildings individually can make AYP and make it in all areas, but when they combine that, of course, when they add high school or middle school, and then the percentages keep rising, it could mean that the district overall doesn't make AYP, but we've got some really good scores there, and we've done some comparisons, it looks like, since.
Okay, and that was the overall. So Wentz at 95% in the state. Was that 80? 85. Yeah, they've been above the goal each year.
So Wentz has been above the state goal every year.
3rd grade reading scores. Wentz scored at 95% for 3rd grade reading. The state average was 75%. So they did quite a bit better than the state average last year. Third grade math, 100% met or exceeded. And the state was 87. That's all right.
Writing, which we did not do last year.
Right.
So we'll just go right through that.
Okay, fourth grade reading, Wentz was at an 85% and the state 75. Fourth grade math, Wentz at 95% and the state at 88. Fourth grade science, Wentz was at a 90% average and the state average was 79. Fifth grade reading, 95% and state average was 76. And fifth grade math, 97% and the state average was 84.
So actually, the state is not meeting
The state is not
average
meeting.
criteria of their ISAT.
Right.
They're not meeting 85 in most areas as a state average.
These are the highest scores that Wentz has had.
Yeah. those are really high.
And it's the first time that all the students, especially the third grade, it's the first time that all the students in the district had a 100% meeting or exceeding in any subject. We also use the Harcourt series, and we have the Title I with the school-wide program, where we've added some programs for the students, mostly a homework help and a skills group, so students that are falling behind can get help immediately and come and go as they need to get some help. Fourth grade uses the fourth and fifth grade also with the same program. Fifth grade, we also use the Saxon math. It's worked obviously very well. Let's see if there's anything else. We also use the accelerated math as a supplement for the advanced math students, and even students that aren't advanced, when they finish their lesson, they can get some, I can't think of the word I want right now. They can get some additional instruction and additional practice with the accelerated math.
Was Saxon just a couple years ago?
Now, we
Is it
teach
no longer than that?
Saxon.
Mayo started in 2000, I believe.
We got an update a couple years ago.
This year, the fourth grade has new Saxon books, and it's a little bit different from the third grade. Third grade, they had, it was already printed on the sheet. This year, they're working out of the book, transferring the problems, the answers onto the sheet. That's been a little bit of a sticking point for them, the kids getting used to doing that. They're transitioning, the teachers are working with them to make sure they stay up to where they need to be. Also in the comprehension and vocabulary skills for the fifth grade, this year's reading scores reflect the highest percentage of fifth grade students to score a meet or exceeds on the ISAT. Does anybody have any questions, or?
I noticed that Wentz has a 2% higher attendance rate than the other two schools. You also have higher scores this year. Now, whether that's every year or not, but I would certainly think that would attribute to part of that. And how are you able to do that higher attendance rate? What, do you have incentives in order for students? Do you have?
Last year, yeah, you give attendance, perfect attendance recognition at the end of the year, at the end of the year assembly. We gave coupons down to the perfect attendance, on the quarter report cards. And Judy Sutton, secretary, does a very good job of always calling and making sure, that the students are in school, where are they, and that they come for, part of the day, as well as aggressively turn them in if they were met the truancy criteria into the hourly program.
I assume there was probably some accountability, extra accountability or something to have you have a large attendance rate there, 95.8.
And we assume at that grade level, if a student isn't there, it's more or less a parent's responsibility that's where we need to approach the problem. Now, Mayo, I know you might be thinking a little bit different by the time they get to that age.
Well, we still parent
Yeah, right.
responsibility, but occasionally we have students receive a ticket instead of the parents for truancy, occasionally.
Melody?
Okay, Nick's gonna go through the slides for us, but before he does that, I'll have you go to the AYP report for Mayo School. And with the percent that we tested and the attendance rate, we met on both of those. And we have always, I think our attendance was a little bit down this past year. It's usually a little bit higher than that. I think it probably went down a little bit when we went away from the 8-day policy that after 8 days, parents had to get a doctor's note. I think our attendance went down just a little bit, from probably around 95% to 93.4. If you look at the reading, again, we had to make 85% in both reading and math. Overall, we were 76.6 in reading, so we did not make AYP in reading overall for the building. You'll see when Mr. Sanders goes over the individual scores, some of the grade levels met. They did not in reading, but again, just like with the district overall, that did not meet. And then I'll go over it like Carol did with the math. It was 85% was the target, and we were overall 86.1% in math, which, so yes, it says we met there in math. However, if you go down and under, we'll go down under reading, students with disabilities were a 51.4%, so with Safe Harbor, they met. Economically disadvantaged did not meet under Safe Harbor. So not only did overall they did not meet, but the economically disadvantaged did not meet in reading either. And the math, students with disabilities did not meet Safe Harbor, nor did the economically disadvantaged meet either. So then it says, is the school making AYP? It says no. Are they making it in reading? No. And are they making it in math? No. Has the school been identified for school improvement according to AYP? No, we have not. It's after 2 years. If you have not made it, that's when they identify you for that.
Why does it say yes on here? It says yes.
Where?
Yes, it does.
Well, it says has the school been identified for school improvement?
It's 2 years. It's year 1.
She's
Upper
there's
right
two
hand.
ones.
Oh, okay.
Two
It's
different
for
ones.
Mayo. For Mayo.
One is dated,
It's one of, was one 2010 instead of
I only
2011?
have it.
this one's dated 8/26 and this one's dated 6/6.
So maybe that first one was preliminary, is what I'm guessing, the earlier date. It's the, what's the one, mine is dated.
I only have one.
This one's the most recent, 10, I would go 10-3 nowadays.
That could have
And
been
it does
applied.
have
Oh. Okay, well, Carol has the most recent one. I'm not sure I can explain that.
Here's this one right
Down
there.
there.
It says,
But did you make it last year?
we did not make it in math last year because of the students with
Then
disabilities.
that's probably why.
So that's probably why, when they went back. So like again, once again, you can make it overall, but if you have one area that doesn't make it, I was not aware that it said that. So when Mr. Sanders goes through his slides, you're gonna notice, I think he's probably gonna mention this, that we have the overall state scores with our overall scores, but he couldn't break it down like we have in the past with grade level scores, with the state grade level scores, oh, sorry, it's with the subgroups, with the subgroup scores. because we don't have those yet from the state. The state says we are required to present this by the end of October, so this is our board meeting in October, yet we don't have those scores from the state yet. And a couple other things that I wanted to mention. We don't know what's going to happen with testing this year. We're coming to the end of the No Child Left Behind. We are also switching from the Illinois Learning Standards to the Common Core state standards. The test is going to be different. The way it's set up, we think, is we're still going to be required to test this year, but those tests aren't, well, we don't really know what's going to happen, because we're right in the process of, they're still going to test us over with the old standards, but we're using new standards. And each state can ask for a waiver of testing results. It's my understanding that our state superintendent is going to ask for a waiver for the state of Illinois from the testing. I think that will only be a waiver from the testing results, not from the testing itself. Is that the way you understand it?
We're going to take the ISAT.
We'll be taking ISAT this year. I don't know what they're going to do as far as if you have been identified as a school for improvement, and if you are or are not making AYP, because that's in the process now of being changed. I think this is something we anticipated as more and more schools are having difficulty making AYP, whether it's overall or with subgroups. We anticipated this happening. As you can see, even the state overall is not making the 85% target rate. So I guess we're working on our Common Core standards. Mr. Sanders is going to be mentioning other things that we're doing, which is the same thing Mr. Whitaker, Mrs. Perry, and Mrs. Jones mentioned. Saxon Math. Our scores have gone up over the period using Saxon Math. They went up initially when we started using we use the same reading series that the elementary uses. They went up. I think what brought us down in the reading section was probably our 7th grade class last year. Did not make it. I don't specifically remember the 6th and the 8th grade scores. So that we're doing the same things that they are doing. The Title I, we have hired so far 2, and hopefully tonight a 3rd person to do our school-wide Target 1, school-wide Title I program. That's anybody that needs extra reading help, that we can get that, and they've started working with those students. So we did update our literature series this year. We're using not only the Harcourt trophies, but in addition to that, we're using, it's still Harcourt, still the same company, but it matches up better with our 7th and 8th grade literature than what the 6th grade book did. They thought it was a little bit elementary for students, and the teachers reviewed it, and with Brenda Rothenberger at that time, and felt like that was maybe a better tool for the 6th graders to use in reading. And if anything else comes up, we'll mention it as he goes through all of this. Let him go through the slides.
Thank you, Mrs. Vogel. Stole a little of my thunder there.
Sorry.
That's all right. As you can see, the overall for Mayo for this year, we were at around an 81, 82. Then the state is just a hair higher. So as she said, the state is not meeting the 85 that is required. For the 6th grade reading, we are right around the 81%. The state is just a bit higher, and as you said, the 6th grade will be changing their reading series. That will be a little bit closer to how it would be with the 7th and 8th grade. The 6th grade math, we beat the state. We were right at, looks like 90%. State being about 84. So our 6th grade math has been overall a strength for us. On to the 7th grade. Our 7th grade reading, we're not, especially happy with it, but hopefully with the new 6th grade series, they'll have a little more familiarity with that reading series, and that should go up. The Title I reading program, we'll be able to work with some of the other students that need help, and hopefully we will be able to bring that up. The 7th grade math, another strong point is our math, is our 7th grade math, and they have done well. They're beating the state by, looks like, about a percentage point. And the teachers will, since we have a new 6th grade math teacher, Saxon will be coming in, they'll have a representative come in and work with him on the program, and also refresh our 7th and 8th grade teachers, and just make sure that they are up to date on everything that Saxon offers. Our 7th grade science is right at 80% with the state, about 81, 82. The science teachers, they sat down and looked at the results, and some things that they're going to change, especially at the 6th and 7th grade level, will be more on the lab safety, lab procedures. That's something that they pushed hard on the tests. So they're going to be doing more of the labs and talking more about the safety. They'll be doing more on measurements, the metric system. That's something that is not only on the test, but the high school has pushed as well, as being able to work with the metric system much better. I know they have posters that go over more of the measurements and the metric system. They have those displayed throughout their classroom. They also will be working more on the astronomy, as that is hit on the ISAT test.
They also, last year, Mr. Kirchhoffer is our 8th grade science teacher, and he met with the science teacher from the high school. We did that in all areas and got some good feedback from them, and he has shared that with our teachers, and they're going to make some changes due to that. In fact, this Friday, at the tail end of the Fall Institute, we're breaking out by subject areas, and the science department has invited some high school students to come and talk to them about what they felt like helped them at Mayo, what did not, or what they needed more of, and then they're going to discuss that after the students leave.
Might I ask, I know that Crestwood has Brett Block, the chemistry teacher, come from the high school and share just some fun chemistry lessons with the Crestwood. Is that a possibility that we could get her to come to Mayo and do the same type of thing, just to introduce the kids to chemistry in a fun,
Well, I can check into that again. She asked at the time she started to do that, and we responded, yes, we would like to have her come, and I guess I need to follow through and find out why she's going there. Now, we do have chemistry. They do a little bit of it all 3 grade levels, and especially Mr. Kirchhoffer in the 8th grade does a lot of, almost every day, some type of an experiment with, it's not always necessarily chemistry because they do all subjects, but he does a lot of that. And I think, our science grades, of course, especially in 09, they did improve. They dropped a little bit last year, and then they're coming back up. But yes, that's something I can check into to see. I think they even go up to the high school, maybe. I think I saw in the paper.
I'm not sure, I wasn't sure if Mrs. Block went to Crestwood or the kids from Crestwood went there, but somehow there's a day where they get to get an introduction, I guess, to what they might see and experience in chemistry at the high school level.
Any other questions on science? All right. That's the 7th grade. Moving on to the 8th grade. 8th grade reading. We were right with the state at about an 85%, so it's a little down from the previous year, but it's right up there at the 85 mark, which we were expecting. And then our 8th grade math, we went down a little bit from the previous year. We're at around 81 with the state, looking like about an 86 or so. Math, like I said, Saxon, I gave a refresher on the Saxon program. Teachers will also be working on the extended response, where students have to tell, not just the answer, but how they got the answer, why they took the steps they did. Kids, they think math, we're just figuring, but the state is requiring the writing and explaining, and that's something that the math teachers will be working on and pushing more onto the students. So those are the overall scores. Like Mrs. O said, when the state releases their subgroup information, we will be able to input that into this report, and then we'll be able to get you a full report of everything. And hopefully within the next 3-4 weeks, we'll have it for you. So any questions?
Yeah. Well, initially, just an overall question. The special subgroups at Wentz, and I guess there was only one subgroup at Memorial, which actually I guess would have been the ones 3rd graders. They made AYP. Is there a difference once they get to Mayo? I mean, can you explain how it will drop so significantly in math and reading from Memorial and Wentz, the suburbs, to Mayo?
One explanation is the change in the test, and I would need to call the state again and find out, but the test changes quite a bit from 5th grade to 6th grade, so I think that's one change. I think that maybe another difference is the way that they test at Wentz. I think they maybe do more one-on-one testing with students.
It is.
And we have made a lot of changes into how we test at Mayo. You have parents come in and help? No, you hire subs.
Didn't need to do that last year, but we have in the past if needed.
Okay.
But every student that has an IEP needs, oh, and then also with the reading test, of course, you can't read it out loud, you can't read it to them because that would compromise the test, but any student on an IEP reads the test out loud to someone just to make sure that they are taking their time and reading it, so. And
Is that something that you can do at Mayo?
We, yes, we could do that. One of the things I think that you find as students get older is they're a lot more receptive to doing that at the younger age than they are when they get older. It's something that we battle with them on at the middle school. We've changed how we test quite a bit over the last 2 years, and we really thought that the change in our procedures was one of the reasons that we had really good scores last year. We changed the whole day around. To tell you simply, we used to test all of the students at the same time, like in the 6th grade. We worked really hard on a schedule to make sure that, let's say, in 6th grade math, they tested them with their math teacher, and they tested with their language arts teacher. And it took a lot of work in the schedule to do that, and give us some downtime and some fun time in the middle of the day to help make the testing period, which is the biggest part of the week, not be such a drag. And it seemed like it really went over well the first year, and I'm not sure if that was, I don't know if that didn't impact them as much last year because they were expecting it. We do pull out the students with disabilities, and they test with their special education teacher. If they just need, like say the test read aloud, if they need extended time, we pull them out and put them with a different person. So we have done a lot of that. If we think that this was on the writing, they didn't test us on writing. If they wouldn't take the time to actually do the writing, or there were reasons in their IEP we used a scribe for them, because like they had good thoughts, but they weren't good at getting it down on paper. So we have done a lot more of what they have done at Wentz School, probably not to the extent that Wentz has done it.
Have the suburbs traditionally been this much lower?
No, especially the economically disadvantaged. Our students with disabilities group has kind of been up and down. I think, I don't know how much, we had a tough time with one of our classrooms last year due to a teacher being out quite a bit of the time. And that was maybe 5 8th grade students, but I think that their test scores, that could impact the group quite a bit. And I mean, I don't want to, like I'm making excuses. I think that is a reason that some of those scores, we had several different substitutes in that classroom over the course of the year, and it was a tough year for the students and for the teacher. What else did you ask?
But they didn't make it in reading format, either one, right? So that wasn't the same teacher, right?
Yes.
It was the same teacher, okay.
Yes.
So that should reoccur this year with the new graders.
Right.
But there are other things that you could look at to try to institute some changes if you realize that this is a pattern with this group,
Yes,
of these groups.
right, yeah,
And is the teacher stable this year too? So
yes,
it's, okay.
right.
And my other question was in reference to reading, and I think I'm probably gonna have to ask about Wentz and Memorial's programs. You referred to a new hardcore series that the kids read from, but they also are required to continue accelerated reading, is that correct?
Yes.
How many points are they required to obtain, just your regular students as sixth graders? How many
I believe all of the grade levels are the same, and it's 15 points. And it counts part of their language arts grade. Or for sixth graders, it's reading. For seventh and eighth graders, it's their literature class.
And then at Wentz,
Each grade level went up.
And
So third, no, it was this way last year. I don't know if they made any changes over the summer or not, but it was 10 for third, and 12, and then 15 for fifth. 15 by the end, fifth grade.
and so you.
But, and then Mrs. Sharon may expect more.
Yeah, she's at 20, I
Yes.
did for fourth graders, and I don't know what she's doing with the fifth graders, maybe the same. But you're maintaining the same level of AR points then from where it goes up, increases at once with each grade level, you're maintaining 15 points for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade.
That's something we can take a look at.
I'm just curious if that might lead to some improvement in your reading, I would imagine it might.
Is this the second year for Saxon Math at Mayo?
No, but I think it's in your report, and I believe we started in 2000.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
And initially, they went down after, when we first started, there were some vocabulary differences, and then they started going back up, and in fact, I think they had been, maybe an up or down year, but they had been increasing for several years. Yes, 2000, I believe. And then a couple of years ago, we got the new updated version of
That's
Saxon.
what it was, okay.
And they're really pretty pleased with that updated version. There was the seventh grade book, the teachers weren't really very happy with, and the eighth grade pre-algebra book. But the changes that Saxon has made, they're really very happy with those changes. And I believe Carol's been working on getting the Saxon to come to train some teachers at Wentz that never had had any training in Saxon math. And she's scheduled some time. We have a new sixth grade teacher at Mayo. She's scheduled some time for that trainer to come over and meet with him. And actually, we just met this afternoon, and we're going to have that trainer meet with all of our math teachers while they're here.
That would be good.
Find a way to free them up at the end of the day so they can meet. And they were here 2 years ago, I believe, because Mrs. Fritz was new and Mrs. Huffington was not that new, but she had never had any other training in Saxon. So this will be the second time that 2 of our math teachers have had some Saxon training, and the first time for our first year teacher.
May I see your eighth grade reading
Absolutely.
real quick? Okay. So is this a class that has notoriously struggled possibly?
The freshmen of this year, I believe they have.
You don't have that slide with
I
you?
do not think so, no.
We do that every year. You know, one of the things that we show you is so that we're comparing the same group of students all the way through. It's just that I don't think he had those, you have this one? I think it's in there.
Maybe it's up in front.
Well, I think it's page
It's
12.
Current ninth grade.
In the,
The current ninth graders. when it compares. And the reading has decreased by 24% as far as exceeds anyway.
I mean, we've had gradual improvements as the requirements of No Child Left Behind. I'm working really hard to stay up with that and just, I don't really know that I can say what happened last year. I do think some of the classroom that had struggles, that would be enough to bring that group down.
It's been the last 2 years because the 7th graders, no, that was then when they were in 7th, sorry. I'm sorry.
Actually, looking at the current 9th graders, the 8th graders that would have been tested on this, they did very well on this test. I see the percentages from the 3rd grade on to the 7th grade were mostly in the mid to high 70s, and their 8th grade year was at an 85% of the students were above, so they actually did very well compared to what they had done in the past.
And if you look at the kids who exceeded in that group as 3rd graders at 28%, it's decreased
Yes,
every
and that
single
year
year down
you are correct.
4% last year.
And the current 10th graders, it only went down like a 10% drop, whereas they went down at a 24% drop.
You're talking about in the exceeds category.
Yes. And that's kind of a pattern. it looks
We
like.
just started, last year I think was one of the first years where we started to see an improvement in, if you looked at just our percent that exceeded, they were starting to do, we were starting to get more in the exceeds category, and then, don't know what happened. And see, that class was a smaller class, so they were testing in smaller groups already.
Well, and then we have a smaller sample,
Yeah.
so
So
a couple of kids
That's true
that doesn't
too.
do well.
Yeah, it was a smaller group, so that could make a big difference, too, especially if you take 5 from one classroom.
But
Right.
on the flip side, you can say they had more, there was less confusion in the classroom, fewer children, more one-on-one instruction, and a bigger class also. So that can go.
Not if you had the particular situation she's talking about, though. The one with the class that was, had a lot of disruption,
Right.
a lot of subs, that's where she's coming from. that
And-
particular-
Well, we were talking about that class right now.
Oh,
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
so
If
she's
you only had
talking
80
about-
students in the 8th grade class, and if 5 of them had circumstances that were kind of a rough year and didn't do so well, that will quickly bring the whole number down.
Right. No. Those kids probably wouldn't have been in the exceed category to begin with, though, would they?
No.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
right, so it seems to out, but.
The other thing I was gonna mention with the Title I school-wide, we are working with somewhere between 90 and 100 students in small group settings this year with the change in that program. Whereas in the previous years, with being a targeted assistance, we were not working with nearly so many students in reading. So we're about somewhere between 90 and 100 students right now are getting extra help with reading through the change in that program.
So hopefully we'll see that play out.
And if some of those, work and get out of the program, then as they reach the level that we want them to, then we'll move more students in. And we're also giving that extra help with some of our students with disabilities as well. We made one of the things we did this summer was make some changes in the way the special ed students were receiving some services so that they could get some extra help in reading. And now, I don't know how they do it at the elementary, you understand that it has to be extra help. We don't take them out of a language arts class or a reading class to give them this extra help. So one of the places you can take them out of is physical education, those are also some of the students who, that's the most important class of the day to them. So we're having a few struggles there with them. Not wanting to miss PE for the extra help, they feel like they're being singled out for the extra help, and so we're having a few struggles there, but we're working through that.
And I understand that scenario, but is there any way that extra help can go into that classroom during certain hours and be more of a, because I know at the high school that sometimes they had, like, they were assisting, where they could assist every student in the class, but they were really there for specific
We
students.
do that also.
Okay, I wasn't sure,
Yes.
I knew you did it one time, I didn't know.
Yes, we do
Because to
that
me,
also.
that is less singling
And we've
out.
added that at the 6th grade level this year, and last year it was just 7th and 8th grade level.
Or could these students have, do they, most of them have a study hall where they can be pulled out of study hall instead of PE?
No, it's required minutes,
Okay,
so it can't be pulled out of study hall.
okay.
So you're pretty, we're a little bit limited as far as times of the day that we can offer the extra help, that you can't
The question is
supplant,
why PE is not requirement.
not on their IEP.
Yeah.
What
So
other-
in the students that, what she's saying, when you write the individual education plan, there are certain things that have been written in that they are required to have, because there would be a special teacher during that time for their study hall, but not by the state requirements, by their plan, is what
By
I'm
their
saying.
plan, yes.
Are there any other?
We take them out of study hall when we can, and if absolutely necessary, we can take them out of social studies also. None of those are good choices.
So really, it's PE is the only,
Right, we also, pardon me,
PE seems to be the only realistic option for them.
it's the most realistic option in many instances. We also, with the addition of the Title I school-wide, we're offering, we started last week with after-school homework help and individual help, and as soon as we get another person hired, that person will be there in the mornings. Now, that person that you're gonna vote on tonight had to give 2 weeks' notice, so she, if it is approved, she won't be starting until next Monday. And so we have morning homework help scheduled to start Monday, October 17th.
I would be interested to know how that works out for the students, because after school, which I know from personal experience, it's good to have them involved in sports, and sometimes they're gone after school, so I will be interested to see if they take advantage of the morning one.
We're tracking numbers both before and after school. After school, it's available until 4:45. I did see Mr. Julian leaving tonight, and he had a couple of students that stayed that entire time with him.
That's good.
We don't require them to stay. We have them sign in and sign out, so that and the idea there is, if we require them to come and stay until 4:45, it'll be a struggle. But if we allow them to come, get help when they need it, sign out, we think that will work better for them. There may be some students, when report cards come out and other things, that will be required to be there. But right now, there's a few that are required to be there, the rest of them are, they just, either their parents want them to come, or they recognize that they need to come.
Would they maybe be more responsive if like some high school kids would come and tutor?
Yes, we have tried that sometimes as well. So Mrs. Wilson, I believe, is she the National Honor Society person?
Mr. Dawn and Miss.
Or- Maybe Mrs. Pittenger is who I contact to get some help. That worked very well with one of our 6th grade boys last year. And that, she stayed with him all year long and helped.
I think it's some high school this year. I
Pardon?
think Heather Seaton is the National Honor
Oh,
Society.
is she? Okay.
I know some high school students would probably love that, like Hannah mentors, and she just loves it. I think she would love tutoring.
Okay. Yes, we'd love to have them come. Other questions? Thank you.
I just, when you look at, one thing I forgot to mention, when you look at Paris High's AYT report, that reflects District 95 students.
Yeah.
Crestwood will have their own.
They'll have their own, their district will be sent a report, our district. But when Dave presents, he will be presenting on both, and he will probably also have a combined. And then, but I want to send that to you ahead of time. When he sends it to me or to send his board, I'll send it to the entire board, so that you can also look at that. And you may want to attend that meeting. I believe he's doing it the next co-op meeting next Monday. Are you having it on?
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions or anything for Carol, or? Even though I know this is, it's frustrating, and when we see some of the scores where the students aren't making it in different subgroups, and we do need to continue to improve, and think of different ways to work with the students, and maybe do it in small groups, because it's obvious that maybe some of the students could have done better. Maybe it wasn't that they didn't have the knowledge, because if by putting them in a small group and some of them reading out loud made them take more time, their scores may have improved. So many of them probably did get the information that it is sometimes a testing issue. But like we talked about as well, with the Common Core standards and everything kind of changing now as well, we finally get to a place where we think we know what's required. And now the state's like, yeah, you're going to take the test. We don't think we're going to count it for anything, and we're going back to the Common Core now. We're changing. It's still all in an effort to improve education, but I think they're starting to realize too that at 85%, they're not meeting. The state isn't meeting the average set. So when you get to 90 and 95, and then that 100%, there wouldn't be many schools left that weren't in jeopardy. So we'll see where it goes at the state level as well. We keep working, and Carol, you'll be working a lot with all the staff on Common Core standards, looking at these test scores though, keeping those in mind. Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, we have a retirement request. I received a retirement request from Brenda Reed. She was the secretary at the high school. She was in the guidance department for many years. She's planning to retire at the end of the first semester. I would ask the board accept the retirement request of Brenda Reed effective January 2nd of 2012.
Any discussion? If not, Isaac?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Bailey? Furnish?
Yes.
Haslett?
Yes.
Davis, yes.
Okay, we did receive a resignation in our special ed early childhood preschool program. Holly Delgado has served in that position. Holly's husband did accept a position in Nebraska. He was at ISU and kind of a coach there while he was going to school. She was an excellent teacher. We hate to lose her, but they will be relocating. At this time, we have a sub in that classroom. It's very difficult to find a person with this certification. We have posted it everywhere and at the universities. We have a lot of people certified in early childhood, such as our at-risk pre-K, but it's a different certificate for the special ed pre-K. So we have a good person working in the room. That's not it, but to find someone permanently, we'll wait until we find someone with the proper certification. So this time I would ask the board accept the resignation of Holly Delgado.
Any discussion? If not, Isaac?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes.
Haslett?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, next, we had talked at the last board meeting about the need for an additional, possible addition to the 4th grade at Wentz School. After interviewing, Mrs. Perry has recommended the employment of Danielle Slater to fill this position for for this school year. This time I would ask the board to approve the employment of Danielle Slater for the 11-12 school year.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'm just curious, how many people applied for the position?
I'm not sure exactly how many applied. We had the applications from before, and then I had some reapply. I think I had 6 or 7 that sent me the same thing again to let me know that they were interested in this.
Okay. And she was obviously your favorite.
she had outstanding references and,
In fact, she was someone that, Jerry, you had even interviewed
Yeah.
earlier, hadn't you? And we, if we had one more position, she got glowing recommendations from her supervisors and.
has had a lot of different experiences, places that I think would be a real asset to us.
Anyone else? If not, ISAF,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey, Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler,
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, we also have a recommendation for a student aide for Memorial School. Mr. Whitaker is recommending Nancy Brown to work with an individual student at Memorial School. I would recommend the employment of Nancy Brown.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'm curious again how many people applied for the position.
We probably didn't have many, but
Three, I believe.
Nancy's been
And she's
working with
been,
that
she
student.
was a sub last year, and she subbed at the beginning of the school year, so it was a nice fit for the transition.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, ISAF,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler,
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay. We did receive additional Title I funds, and we will be able to provide even more services after we had set our budget, when we got our actual allotment for Title I. We received more funding for that, so we are recommending an additional Title I aide at Memorial School, and this aide will also go to St. Mary's, I believe. We were going to split with Mayo at one time. Come on, Gary, you're gonna have to do some more. But for a limited time, we send services to St. Mary's, so somebody's going to be covering St. Mary's for a small portion of the time. And Mr. Whitaker, if you don't mind, I've got a Title I parent coordinator and an aide, kind of lump them together. Would you rather take two votes? Okay. The aide that Jerry is recommending would be Cindy Fiskus to fill this vacancy. And for the Title I parent coordinator, we are recommending with some of the money that we use, Title I puts a lot of emphasis on just parent activities and parent involvement. What we've tried to do is work with that. We were going to use some of the existing staff, with them working mainly one-on-one with students and with groups. This allows us to employ a part-time person to fill that position. We're recommending Erica Rickards, who has a social work degree, to fill that part-time position. So at this time, we'd be recommending Cindy Fiskus as a Title I aide, and Erica Rickards to serve as a Title I parent coordinator.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, ISAF,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey, Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler,
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay. We had one position to fill in our Birth to Three grant, which will be the next recommendation, and I think I had 2 people apply for that. This person that's being recommended would be Liz Jones. She does hold a bachelor's degree. She is not being hired as a teacher, it is a coordinator through a grant program. This time, I would recommend the employment of Liz Jones to fill the Prevention Initiative Early Childhood Coordinator for the 2011-12 school year.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Could we go into executive session on this?
You want to do the rest, or you want to go into executive session?
So it doesn't matter. You want to go ahead and
I don't
complete?
care which,
Okay.
we can be rather long and we can go back.
Yeah, we could. Okay. Next would be,
Connie, if I may interrupt there, at the top of page 3, did we miss something there?
oh, Chantel Walker kind of wanted, yes, we did. There was one other Title I aide, sorry Melanie, you had one aide
I was
there.
waiting to see if she was in there.
Yes, we are, would be recommending Chantel Walker to fill the Title I the one that was left at Mayo Middle School. She had 2 at the last meeting, so, and can I put the speech sponsor with that one? Because it's for Mayo. And we also have a recommendation for Mrs. Ogle to employ Chloe Camp to serve as the IUSA speech sponsor. Is that the one Mary Mattingly?
Yes.
Okay. Relinquished, so she was recommending, so we would be recommending Chantel as well as Chloe Camp.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler,
Yes.
Davis is yes.
There's a facility request from Memorial PFO. Each year they do hold a annual holiday bazaar, and they're asking to use Memorial on December 2nd and 3rd for this bazaar. I would ask that the board approve that request and not charge any fees.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler,
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, just a few other information. Our auditors did contact us that they were late completing the audit and filed an extension, so I would assume they'll be here by the November meeting with the completed audit. We are still working on some preliminary figures and budgets for the consolidation study. We did receive some amounts from the state today, or Friday, so we'll be talking about that as well and where we need to go on the study. We did receive a FOIA request from Kirk Allen requesting petty cash receipts as well as any documentation for recycling. Those items have been addressed. And you've already received information from Mrs. Jones about the Fall Institute, which is Friday, and anybody's welcome to attend, and we've got the agenda in the packet. That's the end of the superintendent's report.
Okay. Report of committees. Public hearings and petitions. Unfinished business. Matters for follow-up. New business. Right to revert to priority of business. Executive session. I move that this Board of Education hold a closed meeting in order to consider information regarding appointment, employment, or dismissal of any employee or officer.
And there may be action, you say, after?
I'm not sure where we're going in, so it's up to the folks that want to go in.
Well, I mean, we need to say there may be.
Okay, okay. Do you have a motion to that effect?
You made the motion, I'll second it.
Okay. Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey, Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler.
Yes.
Davis is yes. We're now with executive session.
Yes, at this time I only have one other item on the agenda, and it's to fill a position for our prevention initiative grant. This time I would like to recommend Liz Jones to fill that position for the 2011-12 school year.
Do we have a motion?
So, to come back.
Do we have a second? Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey, Furnish,
No.
Hassler, Davis is yes.
That's the end of my.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make that motion.
Second.
Isaac,
Yes.
Tuttle,
Yes.
Arbuckle,
Yes.
Bailey, Furnish,
Yes.
Hassler, Davis is yes. Meeting is adjourned.
That's okay.